ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the May Steering Legislative and Governmental Committee meeting to order. First item of business, I'd like to approve the minutes from our last meeting. Calling Vice Chairman Commissioner Gooch.
I move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
A motion, we have a second.
Second motion.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we need to announce 2 vacancies on the Linebaugh Library Board. We need to announce vacancies on the Road Board and School Board Zones Committee. And then now we need ratification of private chapter number 49, House Bill, I'm sorry.
Looks like you also need to announce the 2 citizens who reside in
Okay, well, for clarification, I'll state all the people who can apply. It's under the same agenda item, under vacancies on Road Board and School Board Zones Committee. We need 1 representative from the Road Board, 1 from the School Board, and 1 from the County Commission, and 2 citizens who reside in unincorporated areas of Rutherford County.
Mr.
That would be
Chairman,
for a total of 5 people, is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, now, are we asking the road board and school board to elect a person? Or are we going to deal with perhaps multiple applications from that, from either one or both?
I think both bodies should be able to have a consensus on who they want to represent them, and I'd like to see them send us a recommendation.
Said make an application to the steering committee.
Yeah.
So
Our resolution last month, I don't believe stated that it would be a recommended person. Surely we would definitely appreciate that.
Okay.
But I guess that's up to that board.
Well, it's no different than if it was the Linebaugh board or
Yeah.
the
They would make a
nursing home
recommendation, that'd
board.
be
or-
great.
We've had those.
Right.
I remember what you said at the commission meeting, so I'm asking you, I guess, just to clarify, does this have to be recommended again at the next commission meeting?
We'll announce these in May,
Okay, that's what I wanted to
at the
know.
May
All right.
17th commission meeting.
Okay.
Then we will appoint these at the June 4th steering, or we'll vote on these as a committee at the June 4th meeting, and then they'll be approved at the June meeting.
Okay, thank you, sir.
In front of the full commission. All right. Item number 3, ratification of private chapter number 49, House Bill 3847, Senate Bill 3767, relative to the Rutherford County Board of Education. Commissioners will recall this agenda item, as well as the next one, has to do, Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, with the reshifting of the lines, as well as the terms and when those would expire, to have the staggering terms. It's one that we sent up to the state for them to, and it was approved, now it's come back to us and then get approved. Both of these approved by the full commission by 2/3.
2/3. Motion to approve.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second motion.
Motion is second, any discussion about the motion?
And Mr. Chairman, the first one that you have on agenda item 3,
Yes, sir.
Private Act, chapter number 49, that's for the school district. That's where
Right.
we have specified school districts 1 through 7 and the 3 Board of Commissioner districts that go with it. And there are no changes to those terms. They're the same as they were currently.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have the ratification of private chapter 47, House Bill 3840, Senate Bill 3767, relative to the Rutherford County Highway Commission. And this is where those terms
Okay. Now this,
staggered.
it turns out that the legislative body in Nashville did this in 2 pieces. So this piece here simply puts into complete conformance the road districts with the school board districts. It's the terms that we're having to change so that we don't abridge any terms is in the next item, which is really not on the agenda, but it has to be 4, the second piece of 4, okay? Because we didn't know these were gonna come back in 2 separate private acts, but they did. So we need to approve this one first, and then the next one will, which is in your, I think in your iPad there, let's have the third one as well. So this This just simply aligns the composition of the road board districts. This particular private act, number 47.
Can we ask the question on the next one, or we wanna wait till then?
So we have to-
Kind of related.
Either way.
On, not on, 59, but the next one, yeah, on 59, not on 47. On 59, jog my memory, was there members moved in the other members' areas, or were they, 6-year terms? Can you refresh my memory?
So to keep, I don't know, Ms. Lester happens to be here with us, but to keep from abridging a term, we had to make, in the August 2012 election, we had to have a 6-year term for Road Board District 7. And in 2014, we also had to have a 6-year term for Road Board District 2.
So it just extended terms is all it done? Okay,
To clear that up.
okay. I wanna make sure, there's been so much discussion.
You all had the option of selecting a 2-year term.
Or
a
6-year.
6-year term, and, going forward in the next election, I believe everyone agreed unanimously that it would be better to go with the 6-year term versus the 2.
Then the next, it will go back into its full regular
Right,
rotation.
It'll be one 6-year term, and then in the terms thereafter, it will return to a 4-year term.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no other discussion, I'll make a motion that we approve private chapter 47 and private chapter 59 in the same motion.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? All's in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have the county attorney legal services agreement. Mayor, you wanna come on up at this point, and you want Jeremy?
That's right. I don't have any idea.
We didn't have any idea what.
Well, good, then don't come. We'll need you later.
This is simply a reminder that 2 years ago, we went through an extended period of discussion about the county attorney, and we have an agreement with the county attorney that's in 2 pieces. The first piece covers routine services that the county attorney provides, and that was for a 2-year period. That 2-year period expires this June the 30th. The second piece is for extended services, and that's for an additional 2-year period that wouldn't expire until 2014. So all we're talking about here is the routine services. I just want to suggest that this committee, we did all of this with the expectation that we were going to bring the county attorney in for routine services into an in-house position. And that being the case, if you confirm that is still your intention, then the budget will be prepared to reflect that, and we'll bring that on to the budget committee.
I think that was the intent when we did the 2-year. Nothing against the county attorney's office now, but that was the intent of our discussions prior. And I think with the savings that we're gonna have, and we'll have a county attorney's office for, the legal aspect, I think we need to go ahead and stick to that plan.
Mayor, you have, we have less than 60 days to get this person or whatever it is. What are the wheels that'll be in motion after full commission next Thursday night if this were to pass?
Well, even before then, if you guys can reaffirm your intentions that were previously stated, I think we'll go ahead and post the position for a county attorney, so we at least have a little bit of lead time on seeing if we can find a person that's suitable, and then we can't actually put this person in place until we get a budget approved.
Right.
So time is of great essence.
But there's 2 pieces of this. This piece here is just strictly the day-to-day,
The routine pieces.
the routine piece. But have we already extended that other piece?
So the other, nothing has been extended.
Okay.
The second.
You mentioned 14 on the,
Well, see, there was two pieces of this agreement. Piece number one is just for routine services. Piece number two is extended services.
Right.
The extended services, which they're providing all of those even now, but that doesn't expire until 2014. That piece of it doesn't.
okay, so we've already, that's what I'm saying. It's not up then this June.
No.
It's till 14.
And that's primarily the litigation services,
Mhm.
defensive cases, lawsuits.
I'll make a motion we approve and stay steadfast with what we've already decided to do.
Second.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on that motion?
Mayor, if, and I don't wanna get into all the what ifs, cause you could have 100 different scenarios, but what if we got into a corner here and we don't have somebody hired and ready to jump on and go at the end of this June timeframe? Could we, well, I guess we, the county commission, would have to extend then a month or two or 6 months or whatever if we so chose? Is that an option for us to do then?
That is an option for the commission, assuming the county attorney would be
I
willing to do
understand
that.
that. Yeah.
But that is an option that's contained therein.
Okay.
But it's not mandatory that they do that or you either one.
I understand. Thank you.
How would you wanna go about, once this is advertised and applications come in, the mayor's office or the mayor doing the interviewing, hiring and
Yeah, but I mean, of course, the HR department will put the notification out there. That is something we hadn't really decided who makes the final selection. I mean, obviously, we would like to make a recommendation, if not the final selection, to steering and to the whole commission, if you so choose for us to do it that way.
I know the HR, finance director, both, I know they are hired by the county commission. You know, not saying that that's the direction to go or whatever, I'm just general information, but,
Well, maybe at a minimum, you could confirm, like some of these appointments are confirmations.
Right.
We would bring it to the full commission for confirmation.
I don't think we need to be involved in the interview process or any of that. I think if the mayor and HR and maybe even finance director be involved in narrowing it down or getting the person, so to speak, and then basically it's just bring it before steering and then steering the full commission to confirm, like you said, or to actually put them into the position. I think will be appropriate.
sounds good to me.
How long are jobs normally posted before they're filled?
It varies for the position, typically 2 week, but something of this magnitude probably, we could extend all the way to a month if need be, but historically it's around 2 weeks.
I just think for a position this important, we really need to get somebody that knows what they're doing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if 2 weeks is gonna be enough time to do that.
But we'll think on that, but believe me, if we don't get somebody we think is the right person, competent, experienced, we won't be bringing you a recommendation.
Well, I have that confidence in you
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
that you will make that, that decision.
What's the salary, or what are we looking at for the budget
Well,
for this person?
the median for this position is 115 to 120,000. Now, what we have to pay is somewhere between something less than that and more than that, depending on qualifications.
And staff.
Well, there'll be staff, yeah. Two staff persons will go with this.
So your budget for this would be around figure of?
Everything included, including some reserve for outside other counsel for whatever purposes, will be around 320 to 30,000.
And currently now, what are we What's our expenditure on that?
Well,
Those same services that we would be providing?
that number is about 50 to 100,000 less than what it currently is running, not counting delinquent taxes, revenues.
Will one attorney be able to handle the workload?
Yes. The routine services have totaled 1,250 hours on the average for the last 12 months.
How many hours, I'm sorry?
1,250 is what we've been billed.
I think where we get confused a little bit is everything that the county attorney is taking care of us for. I think we get a little sideways, or I do. I mean, I speak for
But
myself.
Any representation for any lawsuits that are taking place is not included here.
That's what I
Not
wanted to
included
make
in
clear.
these costs.
Yeah.
And that was the second part of it, that, till 2014.
You'll have to address that in the
What?
final 2 years of, decide how you want to pursue that.
Right.
So that number you said is not incorporating those two together? You're just
No,
talking
sir.
about,
Just talking
okay,
about this routine business.
okay.
If we're getting billed 1,200 hours now, the people that we have are very precise and know exactly what to do. I'm afraid if we get somebody that's from the outside that doesn't understand the system, just right off the bat, I think we're gonna get billed for more than that. Or we're gonna have to do a lot more work than 30
Well,
hours a week.
That very well may true. It just depends on the quality of the person you get.
Sure.
Are you needing anything as far as?
I just like for this group to, to reaffirm, and that's what, you
Yes.
already,
Yeah,
yeah,
we
you have
are.
that motion with it already.
Yes.
I just don't want to start this journey with the budgeting process knowing that I want to know where we need to land.
Well, I think, I don't know, I think you're the maker of the motion, I was the second, but I think that, we probably wanna put in there that the mayor can, through the HR office, and then make a recommendation to the county commission, and we can affirm his recommendation. Is that all right with your motion?
Mhm. Yeah, I think we were kinda alluding to that, but yeah, this spells it out, yeah.
You want steering and the commission to approve it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just gonna throw this out there, maybe I shouldn't. And I know we went through this along many meetings. But I don't know, I sit here tonight and something inside me, I know it's kinda weird, is, I don't know, there is a comfort to have counsel with the history that we have right now. Now, I guess the question before us, is that comfort worth $50,000 a year
More than that,
or more?
it's at least another 100 to 150 on delinquent taxes.
And I know we had this discussion, I just feel it's hard to, I mean, we're at the point where we knew we would be.
Mhm.
I think it's just important to lay that on the table, so next Thursday night, or when we do hire somebody, we realize, what we're doing.
Well, I think, I got the confidence enough in the mayor that if he can find a person that is capable of, or to the same caliber that what we've got now, he'll come back and say, I need more time and we need to extend the services, a little longer to get that right person. I've got that much confidence in him to do that, so, I'll publicly say it right here.
I have the same concerns the chairman does. I mean, it's gonna take a really competent, qualified person to make this effective and happen.
I wonder if we shouldn't put the hiring off a few months and really study this
We
and make
gotta
sure.
start somewhere.
I understand that, and I support the
I
concept
mean,
of doing what we.
this has been done in other counties, and it's worked well.
Well,
I
so
love it.
we've
I really appreciate the good service we're getting.
Absolutely.
And this is, like I say, this is nothing against the services we're getting, we've got excellent, service, but at a county of this size, I travel the state, and there's there's counties that are half the size of Rutherford County that has their own legal counsel, that when the mayor or department head needs them, they pick up the phone and they're right there. And I know sometimes, you know, them being in their own practice, it's kind of hard sometimes, and that's understandable. But you know, picking up the phone and being able to get to that county attorney, you know, is when they're needed, is an asset.
Well, county commission, I can only say how long I've been here. We've been talking about this and discussing it and looking at it and thinking about it for 20 years at least. And here we are. It's time to fish or cut bait. And so, this ain't a 2-month, conversation or a 1-month conversation. This is something that's been thought about, by all of the commission members and the committees in hand and the mayor and so forth and so on. So this isn't taken lightly at all. So, I'll call for question.
Question been called for. We have a motion, we have a second, question's been called for. We have to call the roll for that one.
Whatever you want to do.
All's in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
You're a no?
Yeah. Motion passes. Next, Ms. Lester, if you want to join us, Mr. Jones, we have conforming with state senate boundaries. You'll rebrief us. I think everybody is somewhat familiar with this, but if you don't care, or you want to join us, Mr. Jones, or sorry, you want to kind of present to us what your findings were, and I'm sure we'll have a couple of questions.
I just have a couple of comments. We have a recommendation that'll reduce about 19 precincts if you adopt it, and it's adjusting these command and commission lines just a little bit. It's mostly a housekeeping is what it really is. When the Senate drew these lines, they didn't coincide with the county lines. So you've got districts that are required by law, don't anybody in them. Some of them are even on the right of way because the county commission lines on one side and the state Senate lines on the other. So anyway, this is to save the county about $500,000 over the next 10 years. And so Cole's going to take it in here and explain the details of it.
Let's not get too far away from just what he just said. Just really appreciate the state senate doing such a fine job and looking at what we did, since they had a copy of it right there, because they ruled on it. So we really appreciate them taking care of us. Again, take it away.
And this is, by the way, we've talked to the state, beat this thing to death, and this is the only way to fix it. This is the only way to fix it, to make this adjustment in these county commission lines. And it's really kind of a housekeeping matter in most cases.
Right. It's my understanding, of course, I've been in this job for almost 1 year now, so I have not been through a redistricting or reapportionment until now. This is my first time. But I'm under the impression that this happens pretty much every 10 years, that the county lines will come in and be submitted, then the state senate lines will come in and be submitted, and then there will be some tweaking, for lack of a better word, that will occur to try to get more of those lines to coincide. The reason that we're dealing with this is that the state law will not permit more than one state senator to appear on the ballot in any one precinct. Now, that law, fortunately, is not the same for the House of Representatives members. You can have, for instance, if Mr. Coggin and I lived, within the same voting precinct, but the House member's district line fell between his house and mine, we could still go and vote at the same polling place. But when the registrar pulls up my name, it's going to tell the registrar which House member I get to vote for, and then I'm going to take that little piece of paper to the machine operator at the voting machine, who is then going to pull up the correct ballot for me, which will have the correct House of Representatives member and all the other candidates on it. Now, when Mr. Coggin goes to the same registrar or the one next door, then that registrar is going to pull up his name in the computer, and it's going to show which House of Representatives member he's supposed to vote for, and he'll take his little slip to the machine operator, and the machine operator will then pull up a very similar ballot, but it will have a different House of Representatives member on it. So, the law will not permit us to do that for state senators. So wherever a state senate line crosses a county commission district line, then that requires us to create a whole additional precinct. So that's what we're talking about now. We've had 19 additional precincts created because the state senate lines did not conform with our county commission district lines. Therefore, we had several areas. I think we originally thought there were 13, or we originally thought there were 16 extra areas, and then we found 3 more small areas. 6 of the 19 did not have any people living in those areas because, as Mr. Jones mentioned, some of them are simply a right-of-way or a median between a two-sided divided highway, or possibly like a floodplain or somewhere where building permits would not even be issued. There's no way that anybody would live there in the future. However, the remaining 13 did have individuals living there. What's so frustrating is that the majority of the 13 had less than 100 voters living in those areas. So we're talking about having to open polling places, much like we were talking about for the city election, where we had to open polling places for 6 people or 22 people. And it just doesn't make fiscal sense to have to staff an entire polling place and have to have all these extra machines that are leased, extra poll workers and so on to staff for such a small number of voters. All of these voters do need someplace to go and vote, but we don't need to spend the county taxpayer dollars to have a polling place open that's gonna cost so much money for the county over the next 10 years for such a small number of people to actually go and vote there. When I worked out the numbers on the estimated cost over the next 10 years, we're looking at an estimated $577,000 over the next 10 years to have these additional polling places open. And this is considering the cost of the poll workers, the machine inspectors, the voting machines, and reasonable rental fees of any facilities that we might have to use on election day. Mr. Curtis is here from the GIS department, and if you all would like to see each of the changes, he has maps prepared which would show each of the deviations and what is being proposed of how to move the county commission lines slightly to conform with the state senate lines to in effect not have to have all these extra places open.
Ms. Lester, Mr. Jones, I appreciate all the information you've given us here. Very helpful. It looks like to me 8 commission districts or 9 is affected by this. They're still within the 5% that we set forth across the board. Commissioner Jordan, it looks like they just, didn't really need our map, did they?
Evidently not.
But
And they approved it.
And they,
So they
yeah.
didn't spend a lot of time looking at it, did they?
Yeah, but this simple fix, it looks like it's not a mind buster here. That y'all are doing the right thing. We ultimately are doing the right thing. So we appreciate you for doing that. I think it's pretty simple, really. So one thing though, is all 9 commissioners been informed of the change and or 8? I mean, are they okay? Any adjustments?
Have you
I
talked?
think one of mine was one of the largest ones. They had 311.
Mhm.
I think
Right.
193 registered voters. I'd like to welcome them to beloved District 2.
Well done. What, can we see it?
Oh, yeah.
Is that all right?
I don't think we answered your question though. Mike, have you
I
talked
have,
to
talked
everyone?
with District 2,
Mhm.
talked to District 3,
7.
I've talked to 7. 14 I have not talked to, 15 I have not talked to, 16 I've not talked to.
15 says he's.
Oh, 15 is here, okay, sorry. I guess I have talked to you.
Yeah, just not about this.
18 I have talked to, I have not talked to 21.
Yeah, I got one other question I want to get some help about the ones, where were they, since it's in Walter Hill? I know, Walter Hill is the main precinct, and will they go there to vote? Will that, for my information, Mike, I just got to ask you that today.
I'm sure Ms. Lester can address that, but the election commission's going to
Right.
get together and create precincts from this once it's done.
Right, we're gonna get together and meet on Monday, and obviously, our desire is to have individuals have to travel the smallest amount of distance to get to the polling place, so they would certainly, be voting at the most convenient. Because for instance, in District 8,
I'm not sure I like you
we
anymore.
were permitted by law this time to make a fewer number of precincts based on the number of voters we had in there.
Sure.
But because 8 is such a geographically large district, and the way the roads, there's no main roads that really connect up the areas of District 8, we ended up deciding it would be more appropriate and convenient for the voters to have more precincts. I think we went down originally from 4 precincts to 2, and then we went back up to 4 again, just to try to keep the convenience of the voters in that rural area in mind. So we'll do that throughout the process.
This is the area around Walter Hill. If you look on your iPad, it is one that's labeled Walter Hill. And this area that's hashed in here, if you look at the red lines, these are the existing approved county commission lines. And this is where the state senate line came through here. And carving up parts of 3 and 14, we moved that to 2. Excuse me. And this encompasses an area on the south side of Jefferson Pike and west of 231, bounded by the Stones River. Up until this point here, and then I believe there is something with the city that runs through here, which the Census Bureau followed down to Central Valley Road, down to a creek that goes back to the river, then back up the river, and then back it up across another creek to Jefferson Pike. That is what that area is bound by. The second one, if you go to, on your iPad.
That's the state.
The deep purple line, the real thick purple line is what the state did.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's better.
The red lines are what we had originally. Let me change them to a different color so they show up better
There you
on the screen.
Now, will they be notified that they're, I'm sure,
Nobody's really been notified yet.
sure,
We-
okay,
we're
but
getting-
this, with this.
You gotta be
passes,
close
we'll-
though, aren't you?
we'll-
Yeah, we're getting really close. We
Yeah.
gotta get some folks notified. We don't have long. In fact,
Yeah.
this
In
really
other
needs to be
words-
done tonight.
Absolutely.
In other words, the
Absolutely.
people who live in the hash mark areas
Uh-huh.
may not have been in District 2 before. They may have been in 3 or 14, but they don't even know that they were ever moved to 14 or 3 or whatever. They don't know.
They don't
Yeah,
know.
nobody's been notified.
The next area is this area here. For reference, this is the Siegel soccer fields here.
Mhm.
This is the Fairmont subdivision, and what used to be Lebanon Pike here. This is the VA hospital over here. This area here is 14, and we're recommending it go to 2. And then there are these 3 areas here, here, and here, which are where the city limits took in some parts of right-of-way. And if you look at the Senate line, you see how it follows it? And if you look at the orange line, you can see where ours went right neatly down the road.
Y'all did good.
Um,
Y'all did a good job.
This was essentially 3 separate precincts. And
Sorry, Al.
And we're recommending that they move from 2 to 14.
Yeah,
2 to 14.
yeah. 2 to 14, okay. 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 2
again, to make them all contiguous and one, so not separated. The next one going down through the line here is on your iPad is Northfield Sulphur Springs. This is the corner of Northfield Boulevard to Sulphur Springs Road. If you look, the Senate line comes down here and follows this way and cuts down through 16. This area right in here, we're recommending moving from 14 to 15.
They'll like that.
Now, if you'll notice, the Senate line comes right down through here. We didn't need to split this off because there was a large number of voters here, large enough that we were able to move some precinct boundaries around to not create an additional problem there. We were able to move that in this situation. These smaller ones were not able to do that just because of the small nature of the precincts and the economics of it.
So Trinity Drive is gonna be in two different Senate districts, basically.
Where's Trinity Drive?
Trinity Drive, right there. It goes from Oak Haven Drive all the way over to Bass Avenue.
Yes, it is.
If the purple line crosses it, yes, that is the case. And actually, is this Trinity Drive right
No,
here?
it's Jones
No, it's
Boulevard.
a-
Oh, that's Jones Boulevard, I'm sorry. Oh, I see, right here. Yeah, Trinity Drive right through here, yes, it would be split at Jones Boulevard. And this area would be in 15, and this area would be in 14.
And before you move on too, I just want to point out, you can see how that area in the hash marks there is a very small geographic area, and there are no commercial buildings or anything there, schools or anything that would be suitable within that area if you had to create a precinct.
And I understand it, but it's just, people live there, and your next door neighbor's gonna have, one side here is gonna have a commissioner and a senator, and the next door neighbor's gonna have a different commissioner and a different senator, and
It's, anytime you have more than one senator in a county, it happens that way. I mean, this is going on
but on the
in
same street though.
Davidson County as well. I mean, they have to draw the line somewhere.
I understand,
Yeah.
I'm just,
We
it is what it is.
We haven't got down here where we split buildings, and we have to decide what you're gonna do with that split.
That's for another day.
This area is near the corner of North Tennessee Boulevard and Clark and Las Casas Pike. It is enclosed by Leaf Avenue and Sloan Street, and we're proposing to move this from 16 to 15, again, to take care of a small precinct. And this is Sloan Leaf on your iPad. The next area is near Hobgood School, which is right here, and MTSU, which is over here. This is East Main, South Baird, East Castle, and 4th Avenue. Again, if you look at the Senate lines, they come down through here like this.
And what's the numbers on that? I mean, that's one area that I just didn't understand.
The numbers on that was 254 voters, 435 roughly people. It's not exactly that, the total for the 18 was 435 change, but this is where the majority of them are, is right here. There are some other changes to 18 that I'm coming to. This little sliver of land here, which actually, there's a farmhouse right here, and this goes right through one corner of the farmhouse. And the 3 people that live in that farmhouse are actually allocated to this sliver.
That's Glenn Hutchinson, Patty Hutchinson, and his daughter. He said he could set up a precinct on his front porch.
We're recommending we move that from 7 to 18.
And I hate to lose those 3, I'll tell you.
No, you do.
They're good people.
They are.
Then there's this area of 18 through here that we're recommending you move to 7. There are 2 slivers here which are essentially either right-of-way or easements for utilities. Moving from 7 to 13 and from 13 to 7 here. Both of them have 0 population now. The last one, which if you bear with me is rather long, I'll go through it fairly quickly. Sorry about that. It starts down near the C&E Market, which is right here on 231 South and Walnut Grove Road. And it's this hashed area right through here. And it is the median of 231 South going all the way down to the almost to the county line, all the way to Campground Road. And they came down here, cut across, and went this way.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that comment.
But that's all the changes we're recommending.
Well, I say we clean it up and save $500,000 over 10 years. I make a motion to
Absolutely.
approve
I agree.
and y'all's request.
I agree.
A
Second.
motion and a second, Commissioner Black. Any other discussion on the motion?
Hate y'all had to go through it again.
That's their job.
Appreciate y'all's hard work.
Let's go before the commission in 2 weeks. It passes, is that correct?
Yeah, paper
Next.
copies.
Next week? Week from Thursday?
I need them for the file. I can copy them and put them back in
I
your
don't
file.
actually have them, like, he can print them.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
So the recommendation is to make the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 changes.
There's actually more than that because some of those are
Yeah.
combined together.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes,
Just approve those maps that reflect all of the changes.
Mr. Chairman, somebody's bound to ask the question, and I think the proper one. First of all, we, of course, told everybody that would listen to us that we had set the commission districts for 10 years, and they would not be touched. But this is not really our fault.
They're not really set yet either.
I think someone's definitely going to ask, well, can you do this anytime you want to? And I think the answer to that is, as far as changing commission districts, is clearly yes. We can redraw them commission districts at any time, isn't that correct?
It's only required by law to be completed every 10 years,
And
but
these-
it's not excluded.
Not saying I don't support this, I do support this. It's very, very minor, and I certainly agree with Commissioner on saving the money. We can, we must do this, really, I think. I would say that as a member of the redistricting committee.
Well, and as the redistrict committee and the election commission too, we did it for our community, our county.
Right.
But ultimately, we were sending the plan to the state has to approve. This is the state's tweak right here.
That's right.
So they were upfront with us. I just, and really, they're not that bad at tweaks, but it's just,
Annoying.
some of them are kind of annoying, yes.
And they're out of session, so they won't be screwing up anymore for at least 7, 8 months. Don't put that in the minutes. No, go ahead, I don't care.
He's right, nobody's either.
Scott, let's have dinner.
Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones and Ms.
Stevenson,
Lester.
would you
Thank
care to
you.
join us for the Human Resources report?
And Mr. Chairman, with the information Louis Nolan and I want to look
I
at.
would love nothing more.
I hate the party alone. First item is, before we get into the good stuff, is I have a budget amendment, the first time I've ever had to bring one to this committee. But, some months back, well, actually last year, Elena, my generalist, got a new position at Wilson County as their HR director, and she left, and when we replaced her position, someone went into that slot, and then the slot that was vacated from that, the person who went into that position had a little more experience than Lindsay had, so it was an experience credit rate of pay. So it left my assistance line a little bit short and my other line a little bit over, so I'm just wanting to transfer the money out to make it through the fiscal year.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Have to do a roll call.
Commissioner Black,
Yes.
Commissioner Farley,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Coggins.
Yes.
And before she takes off here, I want to have a little preamble opening statement here. What they're going to describe to you in a pretty simplistic way is extraordinarily complex. And you can't envision, I can't even envision how many hours that Ms. Stevenson's staff and Ms. Nolan's staff have put into this. I mean, they have reviewed every individual employee in County General, and she'll describe you what they've done. This has been months in the making. It's very, very important. It's very, very necessary for us to start this journey of putting our salary schedule in a place that really is fair and equitable. So with saying that, they're not going to take any credit for this, but this has been an enormous job, and it's still ongoing. And they really have done a wonderful job addressing these serious issues and complicated issues.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Very kind of you. So that, I've written this so that I can hopefully express it to you in a way that's more simplistic than if I just try to do it off the cuff. So I'm going to read this. In August of 2011, I think many of you will remember that Commissioner Alan McAdoo appeared before the Budget Committee to request a 1.75% salary increase for those individuals who had been topped out from 2007 to 8, and he was requesting that for those individuals who were topped out. During the deliberation process of the Budget Committee, it was brought up that they didn't know that it was the right thing to do because the salary survey had not been conducted and didn't know if the increases were necessitated by the salary survey data. His request was approved and it was given to those individuals, but it was also requested that the Human Resources Department conduct a salary survey. So based upon that request, I contacted Doug Botery with CTAS, who does a lot of the financial information, and asked him for a copy of salary data of other counties within the state of Tennessee. He didn't have a database with all those salaries out there, but he did offer up to help us to acquire an intern working in coordination with UT and also MTSU. So the internship was established. We had an intern who was a graduate student from MTSU. His name was Michael Walker, and we worked in coordination with Michael, John Walden from UT, and Dr. Mark Singer from the Jennings A. Jones Business School at MTSU. The survey was conducted in December of 2011, and we requested salary information from like-sized counties and their largest municipality of each of those counties. Using the data from respondents, the results were then combined in January of 2012. After all the results were combined, we used 3 counties and their cities that we felt were comparable in size and revenue for our analysis. We believe it to be a reasonable and a comparable sample, comparative sample for our county. The counties were weighted twice as heavy as the larger and the large city as one, weighted at once. The counties used in the analysis were Montgomery, Sumner, and Williamson County, and the municipalities used were Franklin, the city of Franklin, and the city of Murfreesboro. Hendersonville and the city of Clarksville did not participate in the survey, so you can't use data that they won't give you. There were other entities who participated, but due to the complexity of this salary plan and the substantial increase in cost, we felt we couldn't financially consider using the entire pool in this fiscal year. To complete it in its entirety, it is estimated that it will take between 3 and 5 years to fully implement the full salary plan with all the data that we received. So this is not a 1 year, one shot and you're done. It's to move us forward over time. With the results, we analyzed all positions currently active within the county to ensure that the position was in the correct pay grade based on the salary data. Then we evaluated each employee's work experience to ensure that they were in the correct step. The intention in this process was to catch up those individuals who were held due to prior years. You know, when the economy got bad, we held step increases. So that was in our efforts there. Lastly, we expanded the table from 1 step to 20 steps to move the table to an annual increase as opposed to a biannual increase for all the employees. Ultimately, the goal was and is to ensure fairness, consistency, and equity for all with a reasonable expectation to be able to afford this suggested table that we're going to show you tonight. Our concern is not only for the employees, but we were trying to be mindful of the taxpayers too, which then comes the long-term goal. The recommendations for 2012 and 13 include to expand the pay table from 1 to 20 steps using the same median as the current table, but stratifying over 20 steps. We'd like to go to an annual increase, catch up the steps from prior years using an evaluation formula. The valuation was determined using the employee's county work history, years in position, and years in other positions on a percentage scale of 10% to 100% based upon the grade of the position that they are being evaluated for. Move positions to their new grade based upon salary data if it said if they needed to move, then we evaluated that. And to have a maximum increase of $5,000 annually and holding those that are over the salary range until they catch up. So with the data that we have, anyone who is already making out of the salary range, we are recommending that they be held until they catch up to where they belong. If we did not make any changes and stay on the path we've been on since 2005 and 6, when the plan that we're on now was first implemented, and only allowing a step increase for those employees who have been in their current steps 2 years, the salary wage cost to the general fund would be approximately $372,850. To implement the first phase of the plan cost an additional $1.2 million in salaries and wages. This is a process, and as mentioned earlier, may take up to 5 years to fully implement, or even longer depending on the economy. Each year, we need to move forward to keep from causing the table to be skewed in the future. It is a process, it's not a one-time deal. Part of the reason why the numbers reflect this is because over time the table wasn't adjusted to stay up with the economy. We'd also like the ability to correct monetarily any evaluations that we may not be aware of at this time that are inaccurate. I can assure you, Lisa and I have tried to find every possible scenario where there may be an inefficiency or discrepancy to correct those using formulas, looking at everybody multiple times to make sure. But we would like the opportunity that if I made a mistake, because I may have, that we have the ability to correct that within the budget year as well. So a little wiggle room, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. On your iPad, you should have, there's the 2011-12 table. This is what we currently have in place today. This was what was implemented in 2005 and 6 with the salary data at that time. What we're proposing is the salary table that should also be on there, which is 2012 and 13. Do you see it?
Human resources.
It should say potential 2012-13. This is using, if you see in bold red, you see it in bold red. Oh. That is still the same median that is on the current pay table in red that you looked at. So we use the same median, we just stratify the data over 20 steps as opposed to 10. So we're using the same salary information that we have, but it's just gonna have different beginning and end because we're using it over 20 steps.
So you're going from 10 steps to 20 steps?
And from biannual, which is held in a step for 2 years before you get a step increase, to an annual increase.
But doesn't that
They
still?
won't be the same as
Same
2 years.
percentage.
It'll be about half as much, the same percentage. You just get it every year as opposed to having it every other year.
So instead of getting 1%, I mean, the percentage that they're currently getting now every other year, we're split that in half, and every year they get a little something.
Don't take what I'm fixing to say the wrong way, but,
Okay.
because I do that sometimes. But isn't it the same thing?
No,
Because
I mean,
you-
yes, it is the same.
Yes.
It's just that instead of that employee waiting every 2 years to get an increase, they get a little increase every year.
But it's the
This is-
same, but it's the same thing. And
Yeah,
I bring
it
that up,
is.
and I bring it, because
Until
see,
it-
remember,
unle-
I had a problem with it 15 years ago when it started, because the every 2 years step.
I think that's what we're trying to do, is that it's important to the employee.
This is
To
about,
get something every year. I
this
mean,
is about
every-
retaining our employees. This is about keeping everybody here and intact, you know, and understanding that we're moving on a yearly basis instead of every 2
Every
years.
other year.
But without looking at the numbers, what I don't like about whenever we adjust, and like I say, I'm gonna say this the wrong way probably. You know, you'll see somebody that was out of line or something somehow, and there's a $15,000 difference here, and then you've got this person here that's out of line $37.50. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I understand we've got to get some folks that have been out of line back in line to retain them, to keep them, and to show them we want them to continue working for the county. But I think there's a huge discrepancy there in adjustments and not pointing fingers at ourselves, but government in general does that more than the private place. Our private business sector doesn't do that. I mean, you get a raise, you're in whatever step raise you are, whether it be a $100 raise or a $1,500 raise or whatever, all the different scenarios you want to say. So, and it's too early of a question to ask, I guess, because I like where we're headed. I like where we're headed.
That cap at the 5,000 is simply a budgetary matter. You can make it 6,000, you can make it 4, but we've had to look at the big picture, the whole picture. And you can see that going from 372,000 to $1,000,006 is a lot of extra money. So there are lots of adjustments here to many people to get them to where they should have been placed and over a period of time. So it's a bit of catch up. And it's not an extraordinary number of people that are greater than our 5,000. I don't know. They know about how many it is. But,
Well, I was gonna ask that question, but I thought it might be too early to
it's
ask.
a little early,
Yeah.
but anyway, it's a smaller number.
Yeah, I'd hate for you to
37
pull
people.
something out.
I think.
37 people are over
Would-
their market value?
No.
Over the 5,000.
Over the limit,
Over the
5,000.
Okay.
So it's way
Oh.
more than 37 that we're changing.
But it may be $5,020.
How many employees are below the market value?
Well, that would be difficult for me to break it. I didn't break it down in that fashion. I mean, I can tell you what I did look at to give you a better example. I looked at the total population and said, who would be held where they're currently at in their salary? And being held could mean multiple things. It could mean that they were a new employee and they just started out, so they weren't due a step. It could be that they were held because they weren't due a step and they were already overpaid, or they were not due a step, or they were due a step and were overpaid, or they were topped out. Those were the different categories, and of that, there were 108 people that fell into that category, so 11% of the population.
I'd like to know how many employees are under the market value of their grade.
Of the grade, I can tell you the grade, I can tell you.
Well, it's hundreds and hundreds to get
No,
$1,000,003.
that are under the
Is it?
Yeah,
grade.
I mean,
because we
it's a lot of-
reevaluated and changed.
Yeah.
Then that's that
Because we're
many
around,
that
what,
you
6,000
changed.
employees?
It's 97
What are
people.
No, that would be counting the school board.
It's 97 people.
Okay, well, yeah.
97
general
people
county.
are below the market value?
In, their pay grade is. When I reevaluated, there were, in certain positions, and I looked at their title, there were 97 people that were in the new salary data. I wouldn't say when the salary plan was created, I would not say that they were, because you had that, but as time changes and, you know, technologies and efficiencies change, so does the market. And there were several job titles, but this 97 people is what I recall.
No school board.
No, school
No,
board.
they're
We're not
not in
including
this.
it.
It's just county
But you need to, maybe, I don't know when you're gonna go into this business about how we value this, there are many, many people that have missed a step because we
Right.
chose for them to miss a step. And this adjusts for all of that. So we've adjusted many, many more people to bring them to the current level of where they would have been or should have been. So that takes them up more than a step or two or three just to accommodate a number of those.
Have you got the departments, the majority, and these, which one is affected the most? Do you know that?
You mean in dollars or relative to the number of people?
I mean, I would say it's public safety, because that's where the bulk of your people are.
Sure.
Before Sonia gets into this, I want to do just a little bit of history. When Paul Long was here, and we did a salary survey then. If you remember that we had so many people who weren't even paid the minimum, that to migrate from where the county used to be, whatever pay plan that was, into a pay plan, it was, let's bring people who are not even making the minimum to the minimum, and everybody else would just get $500. That's how we migrated. So really, it wasn't anything with time, nothing with time. It was just a dollar amount, and here you are. Then in 0506, we did another pay plan, which was this every 2 years. When that came in, it was like, okay, if we gave everybody their time, we couldn't afford it. So the decision was, okay, we're gonna say, how long have you been in the position you've been in? Now, you may have been in your position 10 years, so we would give you 10 years of credit. You've been in that position 2 years, we'd only give you 2 years of credit, but you've been with the county 25 years.
Yeah.
You just happen to be here too.
In that, yeah.
So you see, in every time that I've worked a payroll and migrated, time has never been, an employee's time with the county's never been a factor. It's all, what can we do to get them from here to here with the monies and dollars that we have available?
Well, and the big thing we threw out too is that, okay, this position and whatever it does is maxed out pay is this. Okay, well, if you're here and you still love the county and we want you to continue working for us, but this position only pays this. We can't pay you $100,000 when this position pays
That's true.
30.
That's true. That's right.
So you're gonna have to go here in this department and move laterally instead of, if there's an opportunity for you. But otherwise, I mean, private sector has to do it too. This position only pays this.
Right.
So,
And that's-
no matter how long
and
you've been there,
Yeah, and
we
that's kind of where this table
Yeah.
that Sonia had out, that it's, the median is right here in red.
yeah.
After you've completed 9 years, you're paid the median.
But a lot of counties and cities call cost of living expense, what's the cost of living? I consider cost of living is staying with cost of living. So that position is here and what it pays, but, there's a cost of living increase to everyone as a pool or as an employee.
And that's what I mentioned, that you,
Yeah.
because since 2005, correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, but since 2005, there's been 2 adjustments to the table at 1% each to account for cost of living. However, the cost of living might have been 1.6%. So you're still running a little bit behind, so that's where your data gets skewed, and that may be one thing that you need to evaluate for the future is, what we need to do for the future to the table. I mean, I've got a plan that will take us out several years that will continue to move us forward, but at some point you need to say, okay, where we need to be, how do we need to make sure that we stay this way so that we don't get skewed, the data skewed again.
We intend to follow the same path, meaning, remember the insurance that we just did? We went several years and we just didn't adjust it. Now we have to have a big adjustment to try to,
Right.
it seems like that's what we do with this too, is that we just
Yeah.
don't. And, I'm here with the money saying we just can't afford to do it,
Right, right.
so.
Back to what Lisa was sort of saying there. This process that they've gone through, and they're gonna tell you a little bit more about this, I think. He'd been here with the county 25 years, but we plugged him at a 2-year in that particular grade. They have gone back in giving credit for these previous years at a different level, not at the same level at that grade, but at lower levels, depending on what level they were. And that has computed them, and that's moved them across further
Where they've
in
missed.
that particular grade
Okay.
than,
So that's what's given.
than we currently
this large
have
amount.
allowed.
That's what, we valued it differently. The current process is, the way it's laid out now, and I guess it has been since 2005, is whenever somebody was promoted to a new pay grade. I'll just,
Well,
I
actually,
use,
it switched. That no more than or less than, or the 10%.
right, no more than.
No, at least, and then,
At least 10 and then no more than.
Right.
Right, okay. So what the current practice is,
because they don't know what
Yeah,
we're talking about.
yeah, I know. Forgive us, we do this all the time.
From one grade to the next grade, if you just stayed in the same step, is a
12.5%
increase.
in between current pay grades now. There's a 12.5% between 12 and 11. But I'm gonna use for an example, say someone at the, we'll just say the sheriff's office, that's easy because he's got different tiers. Say someone is a patrol officer, and this person's done a really good job, and they're gonna be promoted to a corporal. A patrol officer is a pay grade 5, and a corporal is a pay grade 6. Our current practice is you take that employee's current salary, you multiply it by 10%, and where they fall, you're following the money, not the service. You see where they fall on the table in a pay grade 6, not going over that magical number, and that's where they get plugged in. That's how the current
However, earlier in 0506, and I don't know how many years it was, well, they have to make at least 10%, so then they went straight up. So we've got a mixture of how people have migrated.
which is inconsistent, and we want to make sure that we create consistency for the employees. They deserve that, and we want to make sure that it's an easy format for somebody to follow. So we created a formula, and we worked within this to make sure that we would have a formula for every employee moving forward if this was approved. With this formula, I took John Doe for the example. We have the years of service that John Doe, when John Doe was hired, and I used in this example someone from Paul's. John started January 1, 1998, and until July 1, 2006, he was an animal specialist in a pay grade 2, animal care specialist in a pay grade 2. Then in July 1, 2006 to September 12, 2010, he was promoted to an animal control officer, which is a pay grade 3. September 12, 2010 until this fiscal year ends, June 30th, 2012, he was promoted to an animal control supervisor, which is a pay grade 5. Okay, in this example, we have and I should have put this in there. I was afraid it would be too confusing, but as I mentioned earlier, we did anywhere from 100% to 10%. I think when I was explaining to you, I said we valued their time between 10 and 100%. So a pay grade 5 for the animal control supervisor has now been upgraded to a pay grade 6 with the new survey information. So we're evaluating a pay grade 6 because that's what the survey data says. This calculation tells us in each pay grade how many years and months that person was in there. We then plug that in to the formulas on the percentages. Am I losing y'all?
No, you're fine.
No? Okay. Then you get the number. So you've got the, yes, I'm losing. Okay. You get the total years number. Anyways, you get the total years. That would be a good idea.
Well, first of all,
That's all right.
let's suppose you had never been employed in anything except a corporal position, and you got 10 years there. You'd get 10 years of service at 100%.
At 100%.
You'd get nothing else because you never had a lower level.
You were always a corporal. You'd get 10
So you would be
years.
right, you would plug in perfectly. But if you had all these other experiences at other levels, you'd get lower levels of percentage participation. In other words, one grade down is, instead of 100%, you're gonna get 80%. 2 grades down, you're gonna get 60, 40, 20, then everything under that, you get basically nothing. So it weights it so that you get credit for every experience you've had at every level before, and that helps apply toward where you're gonna land on the actual step.
Right. It's weighted over the steps in between so that we value your time But you don't wanna value somebody going into a pay grade 6 100% of their grade 2 experience, because it's not the same, you're not apples to apples. But we are saying, we're thankful that you're here, we're thankful that you stayed, and we wanna put that into the formula to consider that time. In this scenario, this employee had 14.5 years of service, and while the majority of that was in a pay grade 2, so it was a lower level, got 20% of their time, they ended up with 5 years of creditable service in a pay grade 6, when they haven't even been in a pay grade 6 yet, because it's just evaluated, they're in a pay grade 5 at 1.8, so it moves it to that time.
You may have already done it, but are you gonna have to go through each employee?
I already did that.
That's what they're doing.
You've done it.
That's
10
how these
times.
numbers have been generated. Every
Okay.
employee has been evaluated with this structure of formula to give them benefit for whatever they may have missed or not been applied appropriately.
Been working quite a bit then.
So you present this to budget Thursday, or?
This is going to be a part of the overall budget presentation that we make at budget. In other words, we believe, we're ever so close, but we think there's enough money to fund this without a property tax increase.
I have 4 questions. The first one, are all the constitutional officers gonna come under this too, or just the county general employees?
This is county employees. The constitutional officers,
Oh, man.
It's fee-based.
the fee-based constitution, when you say constitutional officers, the fee offices, which is the
Other
register of deeds,
departments.
clerk, court, and county clerk, and my trustee, we've got a mixture, but similar.
Using the same,
They're-
we use the same survey data, it's just broken out.
They are currently on our current salary schedule. Every employee in every office, whether it's a fee office or otherwise. They're not held to the same, I guess you could say, level of compliance as the others. We have to agree that what they're choosing to do is within a reasonable range of what our salary tables says, and if so, we sign a letter of agreement with them.
And the constitutional officers, what they've presented so far, and then
It's in compliance and in conformance with this.
I think the only one different was the highway department, wasn't it? I mean,
Well,
I
the
thought
highway
they, I
department
thought
have-
they've
they've kind of done
tweaked it.
stuff different
Yeah.
from what we've done.
But I did meet with Mike Williams, and we did go over this, and he very much appreciated the time, and, I mean, he wants to be part of the table, so.
And with the methodology.
And with the methodology, he said this is, it's fair, it'd be consistent with everybody, and he said, he wouldn't feel like his employees would be treated any differently than an HR employee or a finance employee or an ambulance service employee, that we would be,
Well, it had goals.
So everybody's on board, is what I'm saying.
well,
I would say yes, and the fee offices, with the data that they got, it was almost too much.
Well, I'm seeing
So
one
they
back in
back-
their
they
back,
backed up.
shaking her head, and I'm just, I can't help it, but I'll call you out, but
oh.
you shaking your head no.
She did opt not to participate in the plan, that is true.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I'm not trying to.
What
But they're
they've
fee
done
She's
is
shaking her head,
less
I mean-
than, what she's done is less than what we.
Oh, is that right?
Yes,
So
yes.
it's generally,
Oh,
They don't have to comply with this.
Okay.
It's their choice.
Right.
not trying to call nobody out, that's it, you shaking your head and.
So if we get started on this for a couple of years or 3 years, and then all of a sudden, one of the elected officials says, hey, I don't want it no more. I'm gonna give my employees a 7-8% raise on top of this, whatsoever.
Depends on how strong your mayor's going to be. If I don't agree with that,
Well,
the only
I
choice I got is
appreciate.
to take us into court.
Sure,
that's, I mean, that's the option.
They always have that option. They have that option right now, every year.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
I understand that, I just,
And we've spent a lot of time, and I tried to, and Lisa tried to, and we did meet with all the elected officials. We met with the fee offices as a group because their offices are unique. Met with the sheriff. He expressed some of the ideas and concerns and issues that he had and things that he would like to see. Met with Mike at the highway department. You know, so there was time spent sitting down saying, you know, what is your vision, what is your goal? And trying to explain how we got to the survey analysis and how we got to the data that we had. Now, ultimately, in the cost,
We couldn't do everything that.
everything,
what
we
everybody
couldn't
asked for.
encompass everything that everybody desired.
But
That's
seeing,
why it's a 5-year plan.
and being here when the pay plan first, when Paul Long and Nancy Allen were here, from remembering back then to what it started out to be, which I didn't agree with it. I thought it was a bad plan and turned out to be, it wasn't a good plan in my opinion. I see some good things in this, but better than what was in the previous one. You know, not knowing the whole plan, just from the things you said here tonight.
I had a goal. My goal was any employee can figure out their pay. Once we talk with the department heads, I mean, that's pretty simple.
And that right there, if you remember, the employees couldn't figure out.
How they got to. They
How we
plug in
got
their
there,
dates
why did we get
in
here,
each
and
position.
why we came in at the same time, and I've been here longer, and you're being paid more, and I've lived through all that.
So it's unique to that employee. And plus, what I have done in the last few years is tried to listen to the comments from the employees who came to me. You know, there have been employees that came to me over the past few years saying, you know, please help me understand where this is at. And we've gone back through their history and those type things and listening to those employees and then listening to the department heads of what they had to say, but still trying to be mindful, you know, of the taxpayers.
Right.
Because, you know, we've tried to make it all encompassing, you know, to try to, you know, you can't give everybody everything, but to try to have a happy medium while doing this. I believe, Commissioner Stevens, you had
Yeah, a
another
couple more questions.
Couple.
In the counties where the numbers were obtained, did those figures include, like, the cost of living in those counties, or strictly based on what the employees were paid?
This was just their survey. They gave us their entry level, their minimum, their mid, and their max is what we asked for on their survey. So for that, for last year, or the year that we're in now, because it would have been 2011-12 when we requested the data, it was whatever salary basis they were using at that time.
So it didn't take into account, like, their benefits and,
No,
No.
and how
It's
much
their
it costs to live?
It's their
and
base
everything?
salary.
base salary.
At a snapshot, at that point in time, what are they paying? Minimum, mid, and top.
Okay. And Commissioner Sandlin kind of alluded to this too, but in the private sector, we're not guaranteed a pay raise every year.
Sure, it's based on.
I mean, if I work at the same job for 5 years, I may get a pay raise, I may not, I may get a pay cut. And that's kind of a problem that I have with a pay scale, is that you're guaranteed a raise even if you're a mediocre employee, perhaps. And that just kind of scares me personally. And then my final question was also kind of alluded to a few minutes ago, was how we're gonna pay for this to make it happen. We're gonna use more money from the general fund to,
Well, our plan right now will cover this additional expense, assuming you don't add back anything beyond the mayor's recommendation on these budgets.
are we gonna be able to balance our budget this year without a tax increase?
Yes, we are.
That's what he just said.
But are we gonna be right down to the wire at our
We're gonna be-
15%?
We're gonna be close.
So the first emergency that we have next year, we're not gonna have any money to
Well, it may not
cover
be
it?
quite that close, but.
I mean, how close are
We're
we?
still able to maintain in excess of 15% of the appropriation in the general reserve fund balance, general fund balance.
Cause we spent a lot of money out of that this year. And I just have a hard time believing next year that we're not gonna have any request for funding from the general fund. And what are we gonna do when somebody needs something?
We believe, have reason to believe these numbers we're giving you are conservative numbers. And that we believe that we'll have more ending fund balance than we are actually projecting to give to you for consideration at your first budget meeting. But we're not willing to, we would rather budget this in a conservative way.
I wanna look at it more, I wanna think about it more, I wanna study about it more. you're sending it, or you're not sending it anywhere. We need to send it to budget, if we need to do that, or are you gonna present it to
The
budget?
mayor-
It will be in our recommendation to the budget committee.
Okay.
And I will be happy, you know, only one at a time, of course, to come to the office, and I will be happy to sit down
I wanna
and
give
go
you a
over it.
call and come sit down and
Be happy to.
go through it a little more in depth.
Be happy to.
And I appreciate it. Y'all have done a lot of hard work here to make us a better county and to reward our employees, but, you know, it may not be the perfect, you're right, it may not be the perfect, solution or the time, and I don't know, but I appreciate you doing it, and I wanna get with you before I make a final vote on it to be comfortable.
Sounds like to me it's gonna be fair to the taxpayers, and also it's gonna be fair to the employees from what I'm hearing right now. You know,
It'll be consistent. I guess that's
Right.
right. It'll be
Consistent is what we're
consistent.
Consistency is part of
Consistency.
fairness and
Right.
equity.
Well, a couple of things were mentioned, you know, what we did a few years ago, and I have to admit, whether it's a good plan or a bad plan, I mean, I've been here since August of '90, and everything we've done toward our employees have been for the best of our employees. There's been some times we've been up against the wall and we couldn't do anything.
Right.
And we ask our employees, our faithful employees, our good working hard employees to say, you know, can you carry on another year? We're gonna try to help you. We're gonna try to give you maybe a little bit better benefit. Maybe it's not another dollar in your pocket, but you've got a better health insurance. You've got a better retirement plan or whatever it may be. And they've done that on the majority. They've done that, and they've hung in there with us, and we appreciate that. And so if we're constantly looking and trying to help our employees be better and to stay here until it is time to retire, then that's what that's what we want to do, because we can't be a revolving door. So many departments in years past, Sheriff's Department for one, since y'all mentioned public safety, was a revolving door. We'd train them and then they'd go to the city of Murfreesboro or the city of Nashville or something and get better pay, because we just absolutely could not afford it. And we can't give you everything. We're probably gonna look at, and I don't wanna say this, but I will, I mean, we've gotta look at some of our benefit packages. Are we offering too much? Is there some things that we can cut back on that can save us taxpayer? I'm a taxpayer, you know? But then,
We will be starting that journey as soon as we get through the fiscal.
right.
As far as, whatever we do to some of our benefits, particularly retirement benefits, will not affect every existing employee, but we may bring you some proposals that will do some different things for new employees.
Yeah.
New hires.
Yeah.
And with this, we had, Commissioner Stevens, you made a valid point. The one thing is that we know we're gonna have new employees coming in. We know that we are gonna have some turnover. You know, retirements are
Sure.
gonna happen, people find other things or other interests. The main thing for me was that this gave us a tool to use to be consistent with everybody. So that I'm not saying that we haven't been consistent, because we've been applying that same 10% to everybody who's got promoted or demoted or whatever. That has been. But to value their time in a consistent manner, to me, is huge. It's huge. And most of the people of the larger corporations that I know do value years of service in positions as they do promotions and things like that. And it is based on profits, and we are an expense, but I do think that it's huge to get us the same.
To your other point, in Sonia's 3 to 5 years plan, maybe next year, whatever, but in that is,
Evaluations. Being, we're using the value system to find out where you go on the table, but one of the plans that we hope to implement next year at this time is the evaluation process, that if you don't score at the average a 3, if you drop below a 3, you don't get a step that year. And that is something that's very common in the private sector. If you don't meet your evaluation, you don't move forward. You stay where you're at. If you don't meet it consistently year after year, then you might look for something else to do. You know, or maybe that's not the best job or the best fit for you
Right.
within the county. I'm just saying, that's some of the things that they do as well too, and that's something that we're hoping to move forward into next year, part of that 5-year plan.
Well, I know since 2002, I got elected first time. It was, it's not been no layoffs. Hadn't been a layoff one. Like I said, we've struggled. It's other cities. I think Smyrna quoted in the paper, they're facing maybe a layoff down there. Public safety employee. But I think you're on the right road, and I commend y'all.
Thank you. Well, one of the things that the mayor has done, and I mean, and it's hard to do in the departments when the economy did get bad. One of the things we didn't do is, we didn't backfill positions when they left. I mean, while we didn't lay off, we also didn't fill, and that did cause a hardship on some of the departments, and so some of those people who stayed behind to pick up the extra workload, you know, for some there maybe wasn't extra workload because their department dealt with a specific business that had higher volume or lower volume. But those are some of the things that we've done to help that, and while, you know, it didn't fix everything, I think that there wasn't ever
How many positions have been closed in the last 2 or 3 years, just eliminated altogether?
eliminated. Oh my goodness.
Lisa would know better than us, but
Yeah,
it's a small number. What would you say, 10 to 15
I'd say 10.
total?
I don't know.
There will be no new positions in this recommendation either.
I think that hit hard. I think building code's got hit hard.
So we're taking this as an informational, it's coming to budget, we're,
It's coming to budget, but
we're
included in the total set of numbers that Ms. Nolan's going to present. These
Okay.
numbers will be in the numbers that's presented to budget.
okay.
I want to make sure I understood
This is-
something.
Oh, wait,
We could have an employee with 6 or 7 years of experience still being paid at a step 2 rate. Based on performance.
It could be at a step 2 just because that's the position that they're in. They may still be an animal care specialist, and they may not have, may not be an opening in an animal control officer, or they may not have the capabilities to move up to that level.
No, I'm saying based on performance.
I'm sorry, then I missed your question. Say that again.
If they start out the same position.
Mhm.
You know, there's step 1, step 2, and then 4 years comes along, 5 years, and because of their performance,
They may not move up. They
they
may
may
be
not
at
move up in this
a
one.
4. Mhm.
Basically now, though, they've been moving up every 2 years in a step. Some of our departments and some of our elected officials have chosen to use even currently
evaluation.
an evaluation process. Many of them have not.
Is there anything we can do to strongly encourage that?
This is a 3 to 5 year plan. Yes, and next year that will be something she's focusing on.
And I do, I will say that the fee offices have embraced the performance evaluation system. All of them have done their performance evaluations, and the majority of the departments have. We rolled this out a couple of years ago and encouraged it, but one of the feedback that I got was, well, you know, if they do well, there's no bonus, and if they don't do well, they still get a step, so why am I doing this? So that's where that was one of those little mental notes we put to the side and said, okay, when we do get to do something, this is where we wanna move into. And so, like I said, a majority of the departments have already started doing the performance evaluations to get their employees prepared. And for those that haven't, you know, that is a process that we are encouraging, and the departments that report to the mayor, he can strongly encourage, and then the rest of them. But the fee offices have embraced that even this year already, so.
Thank you very much.
Do we need a motion or anything, or it's just for information and discussion?
Well, I don't think you're maybe in a position to decide what motion you want to make.
Right.
We're just giving
Just
this
to
to
send it
you.
to budget.
Unless you have really, really strong feelings that tell us not to take it forward, it's going forward.
All right.
Does she have is she doing the other sign on the, or no, we're just doing that? On the committee thing?
Oh, no, they're not in on the
No.
committee.
Okay.
I don't think they want anything to do with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hang out this way. Number 8, deadline for committee appointment application submissions. I think we do have something on here. And then I think Commissioner Jordan might have some comments on this as well. Or are these your comments, or are these just Commissioner Stevens on the iPad?
I believe that's Commissioner Stevens.
Okay. Commissioner Stevens, would you like to discuss this for us, or Commissioner Jordan, either one of you? No?
Hang on just a second.
He's helping me.
There you go. No, I think at our meeting last month, we had asked people to come up with some ideas, and I thought about it for a little while, and this was the best thing that I came up with, so I emailed it to the mayor's office, and here it is. So basically, my thinking was that if, I feel like we've got to have a deadline. There's a deadline for everything. You've got a deadline to register to vote. You've got a deadline to get a job. You've got a deadline to get your driver's license renewed. And I thought that 3 business days prior to the steering committee would be plenty of time for the mayor's office to distribute those applications, just by close of business, 4:30, whatever time that is, I'm not sure. But it would also...
That'd be on a Friday, so say last Friday.
If
4
it's on a
o'clock.
Monday, wouldn't that be like the Thursday before, 3 business days prior?
Be Wednesday, wouldn't it?
Wednesday, 4.
Wednesday at 4.
He's not counting the day of the meeting, which is fine.
So you're not counting the weekends, what I'm saying?
Right, not
No.
Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. 3 business days, gotcha, 3 business days.
But it,
Keyword.
and the committee would consider those that were timely filed. The mayor's office would also accept people's applications late and clearly mark on there that someone filed the application late. And they could get that out to us. And the committee, if it wanted to consider that late application for whatever reason, if there weren't any other applicants, or if it's somebody that's just outstanding that we want to consider, the committee can vote by 2/3 to suspend the deadline requirement. And that way, if you don't have an applicant, or if you need, somebody comes in and wants to apply right here on the spot, that gives you the option to do that, but you don't have to unless the committee votes to do it. And then the more I thought about it, it doesn't make sense to have one policy at the steering committee and another policy at the commission meeting. So it seems like if we're going to do it for one, you might want to have the same rules for the commission meeting too. And this would let the commission consider anybody who turned an application in timely. But again, if you have somebody that turned it in late, the commission could vote to consider theirs too by 2/3. So that's the best that I could come up with to make something that's fair.
What was the thinking about for 2/3 majority vote?
Well, if you just have half of the people, it seems like it makes it a little bit harder to pass something if it's 2/3. It needs to be a really good reason. If you have one that filed, one on time, and one that didn't, it needs to be a good reason. And the committee would have that authority. Whatever the committee decides is a good reason to do that. So.
At this point, Mr. Chairman, you want me to talk or not?
Absolutely. Well, we have any,
You sure?
well, I guess first, do we have any comments or questions for Commissioner Stevens on his proposal?
Well, obviously, I'm gonna have some, but I don't wanna go out of turn until he's finished and,
You can go ahead then.
all right, thank you. I kinda feel like that his, which will work, by the way, I think. I know it will, if we follow it, which we'll have to do. And this has to go before the commission, right? They're gonna approve this, is that right? They're gonna approve something?
Give us a change our rules.
Yes, and we're doing that.
That's what we'd have to do, right?
I guess if we did this, we would.
My understanding of that is if you guys are going to change the rules that are applicable to you guys only as far as this steering committee, then it's gotta be approved by the steering committee. But this is this is not binding on the county commission in any way. If you're going to adopt Commissioner Stevens' proposal, what you have is a situation where you guys would send a recommendation up to the county commission, full county commission, for them to vote on. It is at that point where the full county commission can decide whether or not to adopt this position. Now, the reality is, if you guys adopt something for yourselves, it's certainly not binding on the county commission. So this question of whether it's timely or not, if the application's timely filed, may be something that you guys consider here at this level, but if the county commission doesn't adopt it for themselves, it's merely a recommendation, and the county commission can do whatever they want as far as the timeliness, even if it's untimely as far as your rules are concerned. But
Jeremy, could we not, if the commission adopted the same practice and same set of rules here and amended the commissioner's handbook to reflect this, and that would be binding on the commission, but the commission can always
Change the
undo
rules.
the commissioner's handbook if they so choose, but they'd have to make a conscious effort to change the language in the commissioner's handbook.
Yes, sir, that's what I was meaning to say. I may not have been quite as clear as I would like to be. But that's the issue, is whether or not the full county commission votes it and decides to become binding on themselves and through the county commission.
What's in the handbook now concerning this?
My understanding is it's silent on this
It's
issue.
silent. We have been unable to find any place whereby we put in a rule that we can find that says it has to be done a week prior to this meeting. That's been adopted in practice somehow, we don't know when.
If we adopt what Mr. Stevens has said here, or if we adopt what I wrote, all of you have copies now, or something in between, I want to make it a hard and fast rule. So it's going to have to go to the county commission for approval. Because I don't want us to be sitting in a position where we can say, this is why we're sitting here today, by the way, where we can say, well, nah, it doesn't apply this time. Or, or something in between. I want us to be able to follow exactly what we said. Now,
That is an impracticality in this circumstance, because the reality is the full county commission can always vote to suspend the rules. And with that always being an option, the rules are kind of malleable for the county commission. They can do whatever they want with it. So the reality is, and I understand the impulse, I'm just saying the practicalities are they can suspend the rules with the proper votes. So you're kind of stuck with that at this point.
well, I really don't have a particular objection to that, but let's make the county commission do that. I don't want us to be able to do it, suspend our rules. And we evidently, we don't have one. I guess the mayor just said we don't have one.
You've had something of a practice, but we cannot
Right.
find any official action taken to put that practice in place.
You're saying something in stone for the committee, steering
This
committee
committee.
process. yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I hate to admit this publicly, but Commissioner Gooch has convinced me, as it says quite clearly there, I guess, for no deadline. And he spoke very eloquently for that last time. And I think he has a point. And with all due respect, Commissioner Stevens, 3-day deadline, 5-day deadline, 10-day deadline, it's a deadline. And as soon as that happens, somebody's going to turn in something after the deadline. Well, okay, but I realize we've got 2/3 and we got all this kind of stuff, all of which we're going to have to follow. But with no deadline, we're in good shape. And if they want to come up and 2 minutes before the meeting starts, and if the grand jury's not in here, it'll start at 5:30, and hand it to our chairman. And I've got no particular problem with that. Now, I did put on here, at Ms. Taylor's suggestion, that that we suggest that applications come in as far in advance as possible, which I think makes perfect sense. It gives us a greater chance to look at them. Now, Commissioner Stevens, on what he's saying here, we're going to have an opportunity to look at these things if you check your email 3 or 4 days whenever we, ahead of time. So that's an advantage to his plan. Another disadvantage maybe to no deadline is this one, and it may be important to you and it may not be, but you're not going to be able to commit to anybody really, and look them in the eye later, if a great candidate walks in at 2 minutes to 6. So you're not gonna know, and you're gonna have to check your mailboxes as well, of course, we all do that, to know who you're voting on that night. We all get things a week ahead of time. So there's pluses and minuses to both of these, I think, or maybe some way that you might wanna tweak it. Also, I think I've said this, and you all have kind of echoed this too, that I kind of wanted to at least try to solve the mayor's office problems with Ms. Jones and Ms. Holt and Ms. Taylor, in that they have to coordinate. Remember what they told everybody? Sometimes people call. They say, well, it's after the deadline, but does everybody remember to do that every single time? I'll leave that to you. Or they come in and she says, well, it's after the deadline, but the steering committee can make a judgment on that. Does everybody remember to do that every single time with all the boards and commissions we've got? And if we don't do that every single time, I think you know the answer to that, then we have wronged somebody. Totally didn't mean to, but we did. But with no deadline, that's not a problem. Shouldn't have to say a thing. Hand them a form or tell them come on in and turn it in. But if you want to have a deadline, let's go with it. Okay.
Well, I like the deadline situation. I mean, it like Commissioner Stevens said that, I could really fight this thing both ways, but I really like a deadline.
Well, you mentioned Friday the last time.
Yeah. 3 business days, so we're talking about Wednesday at 4 o'clock. I don't know what the magic thing is. I like everything about it except for the last part right here in the 2/3 majority on the steering, and then really the commission meeting. What happened? I just disappeared it. There we go. The commission meeting follows what you were saying. We really don't need that part because we can suspend the rules and accept it or not.
But if you really want to have some sort of deadline, I think if you go ahead and put it in your handbook, it makes it a little bit, you sort of have to stop and really think, is it worth changing and trumping the handbook for a specific person or occasion?
Right.
Either you sort of want a deadline or you don't.
Well, this is on the committee process. Is what I'm-
Even in the steering committee, we can suspend the rules.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's,
I'll make a suggestion to kind of get this going further. We can kind of vote on this. I'll make a motion that we adopt this information that Commissioner Jordan presented to us.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion on the motion?
So we're talking about no deadline. As the applications come in, they come in.
Well, obviously, if the sooner you get it in, the more time we can look at it, and
Yeah.
that person probably would have an advantage over someone that come in, 2 minutes prior to the meeting.
Mhm.
And I think that would probably speak volumes of that person.
Yeah.
And we would know to look at that ourselves. Obviously, that may be the best person, but that's something that it gives us the opportunity to consider everyone in every aspect of that application. But obviously, if you turn it in a week or 2 weeks prior, it gives us more opportunity to look at you, and we can probably feel more comfortable with that person. But it does give the person who, for whatever reason, doesn't get it in until a day or 2 before, it gives us the opportunity to consider.
And if that person turns it in late, that question can be asked to that person, did you think enough of it to turn it in on time?
Like I said, I could fight it both ways.
Yeah.
That, it's trying to get something down where we're all looking at the same rules or the same aspects of what we're doing on applicants, so.
I have a question
And
about.
this looks like if we don't get an application in by full commission, then like what you're saying, it rolls back over to the next meeting then. But we could get as late as an application on full commission level.
Yes.
And we'll handle it and adjust it right there.
Yes.
Gotcha.
I have a question about whenever an application is turned in, is there a time when the mayor's office is supposed to bundle them all together and send them at once, or are they supposed to send an email every time an application is turned in?
You mean the late ones that are
All of
sent
them,
after the?
if there's no deadline,
We usually get them on agenda day, don't we?
Yeah.
well, then we wouldn't be able to look at them 2 weeks in advance. If somebody turns theirs in.
1 week.
Even today, we were loading these iPads today. So, I mean, you got some of this information, most of it was placed on there just today. We didn't have any applications to give you, but
Mr. Mayor, we excuse me, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
We adjusted, the forms, application forms over the last few weeks have been adjusted, isn't that right?
We took that sentence off and said that, no, it have to be in a week before.
Mhm.
We removed that.
Well, we can always review this at any time.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just, we've gone full circle with this. Because part of our situation was we were bound by a deadline that wasn't an official deadline. If they remove that from the application, then there is no deadline. Therefore, is there a need, maybe for clarification if anything, but is there even a need? We're not really changing anything.
Well, if
What
this,
true practice are we changing by voting on this?
well, if this was, if someone requests an application for a board, I think that the application is given to them, and that's pretty much it. If there was a cover letter, something like this, that explains the situation, you know, we want you to turn it in as soon as possible, but you could turn it in, you know, at the meeting. But, and the information about, if it's not, like number 2, the steering committee may or may not make a recommendation. It just gives them some information, and maybe have a cover letter with the application. That's what I would see this being done. But taking the 7-day requirement off the application satisfies what I wanted to accomplish.
Well,
But this gives it a little bit more structure.
Mr. Jordan has suggested that this language be attached and placed there to the application form.
Well, it could be like a cover letter as part of the application. The application be a 2-part.
Yeah.
So does this need, I guess I'm questioning, does this need to be a motion that we approve and send to the full commission? Or is this just something we can ask the mayor to have put on the application? I'm fine either way, I guess I'm just asking for clarification.
I'm fine either way too. I just felt like that because we was in this discussion that the committee wanted some kind of a vote or group discussion or group
And that's fine.
understanding.
Whatever.
And this motion, I guess, is just for us. It's not really something we need to go to the full commission.
Very well. Motion and second, any other discussion?
Read the motion, please.
Adopt Commissioner Jordan's proposal as presented.
Sorry. I'm ready.
Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Record reflect 1 no. And just for clarification from the committee, would you like for the chair to report on what we did?
Yes.
Since this was?
Yes.
Okay. You think we could have a copy of a new application form that will reflect the changes made?
Yes.
In the package? All right.
Say it.
See you later, Steve.
Next, we need to reschedule the July 2nd meeting, possibly to be held Thursday, June 21st. And this is the only day, my understanding is, that's available prior to the budget meeting. And if they're after the June 4th meeting, maybe speaking out of turn here, but after the June 4th meeting, if there is no business that needs to happen before that meeting, or if there's no reason to meet, then we might not need to on June 21st.
So not have the June the 4th meeting, but have one.
I have July 4th, July 2nd meeting.
July, okay.
July 2nd is our We will have a June 4th meeting. Then the meeting after that will be is scheduled for July 2nd, so we need to reschedule that one to Thursday, June 21st.
Or do you have to do that now, or can you wait till your June 4th meeting?
Well, I think we just want to go ahead and get it on everybody's calendar. We could firm it up. I think it's only date left, so I guess.
There is one other date, but it's the Save for Public Works, which meets tomorrow night. But this is the only one that Vicki said was available for steering.
What if we grab it up first?
Well,
We
don't-
met
don't do
first.
that.
Just kidding.
This is when Vicki wants you to have.
Whatever she says.
Whatever
That's
Vicki
right.
says.
And I guess we can, on the June 4th meeting, we could decide that as well.
You can firm it up, I mean,
We
you can
could,
go
we
ahead
could
and tentatively schedule it
reconfirm it
for
Now,
that
when
day
is
if you
June
want to.
21st?
Thursday.
I won't be here on that meeting, Mr. Chairman.
I won't be here either.
It'll be short then.
I'll be here, I guess my vote
I
counts
was
three.
just kidding.
May not have a quorum.
May not.
Just to let you all know, I won't be here June 4th, but I've let Vice Chairman Gooch know that.
Now, there's three of us not gonna be here June the 4th.
I won't be here for the June 21st
Oh.
special meeting.
Oh, I won't be here June the 4th.
I'll be here for both occasions.
Thank you.
Let's get the important person. Ms. Shelton, are you gonna be here?
Awesome. All right, very well. Any other business?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make a comment really about something that Commissioner Stevens said a few minutes ago about paying for this pay increase, which I don't know if all of us are for that or not, but I certainly am. But we're about to meet with schools who are going to have a pretty hefty budget increase, I think. If the newspaper can be believed, we'll have more figures on the 10th of May. And after Mr. Sandvig finishes his magical work that he does with his calculator, sometime around the 11th or the 14th, we ought to know more about what the state's going to be giving us. We meet the 22nd, which is considerably after budget. So I can't really comment past that. I haven't seen their proposals yet, but they've got a lot to pay for. So I do know that because we've seen some preliminary plans, very preliminary. I just thought I'd throw that out there for the information of the remaining committee members.
Very well. Any other business? Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
in a second.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.